Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Queen's Landing. I'm sorry, I Queen's Landing,
Whoa.
even though it is still Keen's Landing. This is our An All Girls After Show for Game of Thrones, which aired its series finale tonight, and we are really ready just to dig in and start discussing it because we've been following the show for 10 years, and we've been doing Queen's Landing for 2 years, right? Or three?
No.
Three
Three at
seasons?
least.
It's
Yeah,
three.
Yeah.
We had a whole year where we were off, so it feels like it's like three.
right.
Yeah.
So we've been committed for a very long time. So yeah. Um I think let's just get into it. What did you guys think of the series finale?
They made Google king,
Well, then it's pretty
basically.
true to life, right?
I guess.
They know everything.
Like just like my first it was okay. I mean the ending, I didn't really mind the actual ending.
Yeah.
I just feel like it wasn't earned. And I think that's like it's just sort of like I have
Bullet
these
point.
com- I have like just these conflicting feelings about it because I didn't mind how it ended. Like I felt like those characters were where they wanted to be, where they needed to be. Especially and I'm really just talking about Tyrion, John, Sansa, and Arya. I felt like where they ended was where they were always meant to end, and that makes sense to me. Bran took me by surprise. I did not think he was going to be keen. Um, I guess it makes sense, and I'm okay with it, honestly. Uh, of course, we knew Daenerys was gonna die. Again, it's just like the build up to these moments. Just they didn't have it. They didn't execute it well, and it's sort of like soured it. I mean, I should have enjoyed that ending, but I don't think they did enough to get there in a way that it's earned. So I don't know. Do you guys agree?
Yeah. And I agree with you specifically about Arya, Sansa, and John. And like the Starks are my favorite. So obviously I was always rooting for them. But like I do feel like the three endings for them were really fitting for their characters and for their story arcs, even like down to the little things like John kind of finally bucking honor and going off with the wildings, so it seemed, kind of finally doing one thing for himself. So for that case, I thought that ended organically enough. Even Tyrion, who at that point I just figured he'd end up as a hand. But Bran didn't bother me so much because I always figured they were going to go with the choice that was just kind of like we really couldn't figure out who to put there. So let's just put somebody. But I do agree that everything else was unearned. And it started since last week, like, do I think they could have gotten to a point where Dany went crazy and they had to kill her? Yeah, I think that's been planted throughout the series. Do I think it happened within 5 seconds? No. Do I think it would take Tyrion one conversation to get John to kill her? Probably not. So I think all of that was just kind of like the showrunners being like, we've got to wrap this up. And that was annoying.
More than anything, I was reminded during this episode that this was always going to be about the Starks and that they were going to get the more satisfying ending out of everyone. So I think that was a nice reminder for me personally. I think this whole season I've been embroiled in the conversation of what was happening with Dany's character, and I think I got caught up in that. But I think this was a nice reminder that we started with the Starks and we were always going to end with the Starks. And obviously I had no issue with that. I do think as a series finale, it is underwhelming just because this whole season has been kind of underwhelming. And a lot of that has to do with the whole, they're trying to end it in 6 episodes, which was always going to be tough. So you kind of have to, I feel like you have to take it with a grain of salt and this is what we got. So
did you guys read that apparently HBO offered 10 episodes for the final season and they chose to do 6?
Yeah,
because for once, like usually I'm like, they don't need that much time for shows. It's usually like dragging things out. This is one of the first times where I was like, clearly you needed more time. Mm-hmm. Why on earth did you take it? But I don't no, I can't. I don't want to follow anything that those showrunners do going forward.
Well, Star Wars is next.
Like,
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
doing the next Star Wars trilogy, so
can't wait to see how the women are treated there. Fine.
all right, Melissa.
Sorry. How you holding up?
Okay, so the whole time I feel like I'm watching like bullet points. It's like there's bullet points and they're checking stuff off their list. That's what I felt like watching. I don't know if I agree with you guys saying that everybody should have ended up where they should have.
Not everybody.
I'm
Just
not
my
sure
stars.
about that because I felt like I was watching bullet points. Maybe John doesn't become king and he does go beyond the wall, but I just kept like asking questions like, why is nobody bringing up the fact that he's the true heir? A. B. In the episode prior, we saw Varys sending out a bunch of ravens about who the true heir is, and I'm assuming he sent those out to like the noble men, I mean lords and ladies, and nobody brought that up. And if John killed the big bad tyrant that was Daenerys, why is he in prison for like weeks? And then why does Drogon and Grey Worm not even attempt to kill John because they're so loyal to their queen? Like, I feel like character-wise, that did not make sense for me.
Yeah.
It made no sense.
The only thing I could say for the Drogon character is like this weird, like, no, it's just like him maybe knowing that he's a Targaryen. I don't know, something.
I thought about that, but he's still clearly still so loyal to his mom. I mean, he carries her dead body and flies off.
Yeah, maybe he
So
just had better shit to do.
That was weird. That was just like, I think that's what Drogon went against his character. Grey Worm definitely, like, they messed up his character. Why would he imprison John and not try to kill him?
Because everyone would be mad if John died.
You mean the audience?
I really would have.
I mean, like,
I've been dealt so many blows this year already. Katey knows this for like characters who I love dying. And John would not have touched me the way that the other two had. But if they killed him, I've been like, come on.
Once upon a time, there was this show called Game of Thrones when it used to be good. And I remember a time when they killed a character that I loved by the name of Robb Stark. The Red Wedding killed me. It killed me.
Yeah.
But it still happened, and I was like, oh my God, the signs were there. It makes so much sense. And it's just not that show anymore. It's a different type of show. It's terrible.
I was thinking that too when I was watching it, that the show felt very different tonally
felt that way
than the rest of the series. And I just kind of attributed to it being the ending, and that's always going to feel different than the rest of the series. But I definitely think this season though too, and I think a lot of people have said this, and I think I've said this too, was just that once those two, what's their names, David and DB Weiss,
dickheads,
D&D, when didn't have like George R.R. Martin's like source material, it seemed like they kind of like lost like. They couldn't really adapt the material well or continue. Well, they could adapt the material well. They just didn't know how to do it on their own.
Yeah. I agree.
But yeah, I mean, I was thinking that too. Like, I was expecting more action in the episode. Like, once he killed her, I like paused it. I'm like, okay, now it's time for my dessert. And I went and got my dessert because I thought, oh, I'm gonna be enjoying the rest of this because I thought everyone was gonna go after him. He was gonna have to leave the city. Like, I was expecting like. And then it just kind of cuts to black, and then we skip 2 weeks, right? And Tyrion's like making a case for Bran, and I'm like, oh, okay.
My God, it was such a horrible scene. Like oh my God, they make a council of all the lords and ladies. He's still in chains, making all the decisions, and they're just listening to this dude. And they make him hand, even though he's been a horrible hand for the past 3 seasons.
I did like that point though. I liked that in the sense that Bran was like, you don't want to do anything less than do this. This is your punishment. I thought that it was actually relatively fitting to stick him back in the place where, Like, there's a lot of stuff this season did wrong to me. Don't get me wrong. I'm not just trying to like defend it for the sake of it. I just thought that one part of that one scene worked. I thought the rest of the scene was a little on the nose. Like, I hate it when shows always do like the in series jokes, like Sam writing the book or trying to be like create democracy. And it's like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
That made me cringe too.
Allyson, I had the same
thought. It's just, I feel like they ruined Tyrion's character like a long time ago. That like watching that for me was like what's that term? Like they nail in the coffin. I was like, oh my god, are you serious? He's still alive. Still, I don't know. It's just, if this was like a different era, if we were still in seasons 1 through 4, like tonally and like writer wise, this is not the show I think we would have gotten. It's just turned into something completely different, and I'm disappointed.
Yeah, Allyson, I had the same thought about being burned by TV recently before this, and I understand wrapping this up in 6 episodes was always going to be difficult, but I think it was hearing the way D&D would talk about the episodes and that little like behind the scenes thing that happens after the show, which it didn't happen on this one, which seemed a little telling.
I think it's because they're running a documentary about the last episode or something later too.
Yeah, maybe. But it was the way they would talk about things and that like little behind the scenes thing that kind of made me mad and soured me for a lot of what was happening on screen. So I don't know what else to add to that except TV is really killing me lately.
Well, also, it shows that they really didn't understand their characters because, like, people would try so hard to justify things characters have done on screen and, like, kind of wrap their heads around it. And then they would come on screen and be like, no, they did it because of this. And everybody would be like, but we just figured it out ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, we really gave you a better answer. Why are you just saying this?
There was a line that Tyrion said in this episode where he's talking to Jon and he is talking about all the things that Dany did over in Marine and Astapor, and it said something like every time she burned like evil men, we cheered for her. And I hated that because it sounded like she was talking to the audience and like justifying, basically like calling us out for cheering for Dany when she was burning people. But you made that her storyline and you made us cheer for her.
I got kind of grossed out by that scene too, because I think it was speaking to a larger audience than just the show. And I don't know if that's me reading too much into it, but it seemed really insidious and really kind of marketed towards this idea of like, oh, watch out. You think you're doing the right thing because you're getting a lot of evil men, but in the end, you'll be the villain. And it's like, what are you saying about your strong female character that you created? And what are you saying to the women in the audience who are watching? Because that to me, that struck me as wicked pointed. And again, maybe I'm reading into it, but if you go by their track record of hating women, it would seem on screen by the way that they treat them. I don't know. That scene in particular really kind of grossed me out.
Yeah, I didn't even get that, but I see your point. Like I thought they were just trying to explain themselves, like with that scene, just explain why they made why they did that to Daenerys and why they turned it so fast. And I felt like they just like threw it in there just to kind of like, well, like, you know, this is why we're doing it, you know, in case you weren't clear before. But then you are right. Like, I think that's an interesting analysis that that is a very dangerous line of thinking because you're right. It does reflect, particularly the Me Too movement, where a lot of men are getting condemned for sexually harassing women for years. And that's almost saying like that the repercussions they're facing now are not justified. So it's undermining. It's definitely undermining. And I think that's very irresponsible of them.
And maybe that wasn't their point, but it comes off close to it. And I think if you're good writers, you understand that kind of implications.
Well, I think a lot of the discourse around Dany has been, at least on Twitter, and it's not coming from the writers, it's just coming from the general audience, people who talk about it, you know, on social media. A lot of it has been, well, we were cheering for Dany when she was burning evil people. That's where I'm getting like where like the show talking directly to the audience, because we were cheering her. She burning, the slavers, and other evil people. And I don't think we were wrong to cheer for that, but I feel like the show is telling us we were wrong for it, and that's my issue.
Yeah. They're asking us to rewrite their own show.
Yeah.
I feel like too the issue was that, and like what you were saying, Katey, is like they never really presented it as extremely problematic. I mean, I think people who kind of can sit and like sort of read into the moments, especially if you read the books too, I think you're more informed on how to interpret those scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But like for I think, for me especially, yeah, I was like rooting her on because she was like, freeing people. She was doing what I thought was good, and we never really understood the nuance of the situation because the writers just never adapted the character in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, I did read the books, and I have very vocally here been not a Dany fan. But, and again, with the books and the shows, I've been like, she's really straddling that line between liberator and conqueror. But I still think the show did a poor job in handling it. You're like, and in the end, treated her as if they had always treated her like she was going to become the villain. And it's like, you didn't. You decided in the last 3 episodes. And that's what I don't like. It's like, it's like they're blaming us for rooting for a character, like you two said, that they've never positioned as anything other than the hero up until this season. Yeah. It's been people who've looked into it a little bit or have been like, the show's doing a poor job with this. Like when she's like the one white person in a sea of like the people she's liberated, like that looks weird. Like that was an odd choice for them to go with. So like I feel like anytime there's been a discourse of being like, she's kind of a bad guy, it's really only been online, like I never thought, I don't know. I think the show handled it poorly. And if George R.R. Martin ever decides to finish the books, maybe I'll see if he was going to go a different way, but I don't know.
They never addressed, because there was a part in the episode where Tyrion kind of calls her out for killing a whole bunch of civilians, and there's silence from her. Like they never presented as to why she made that split-second decision, because she's going on and on about this speech about liberating King's Landing and liberating the world, and then he said, but you killed civilians, and then she just gives him a stare. So, like, we still don't know what her process was for killing a bunch of innocent people. And I feel like we kind of deserve to hear that because we've never seen her do that before. So that's just my take.
She kind of talks to Jon about it before he kills her. Like, just like her explanation of like not showing mercy to people. But I feel like it was so thin and like and shallow. I really did not understand her line of thinking, and I think the writers didn't even care to. They just wanted us to think she was crazy, and that was it. Like I don't really think they made any like serious effort to like make us like to give her any sort of like actual rationale. Yeah. I think they sort of dropped it. A couple episodes ago.
I think your point is right. I think the whole idea is you're just supposed to be like, she went crazy. Yeah. And that's supposed to be it. Like, that's it's because of her bloodline, and that's it. And I'm just, fine.
That home, especially during her speech in the beginning, when she talked to the Unsullied and the Dothraki, she, like, specifically says they liberated the people of King's Landing. I'm like, what? You killed all of them. And I feel like she's using the term liberated as like, I think I guess in her head, she might be mercy killing everyone. And that's how she's viewing it. But then when Jon kills her, but they still use her philosophy of breaking the wheel to continue on in the world, it feels even more like she was crazy. And they're extracting the crazy part and moving on with what was sensible about her, which was the breaking the wheel thing.
Which is like even worse.
Yeah.
Like this crazy lady couldn't handle it, but hey, the men got it.
Like she had a good idea though, so like
good for her. I like your enthusiasm.
We love your idea. We're just gonna make it better.
Basically. Oh god. It was this season was
And it's the breaking the
It was
wheel, the term
bad.
breaking the wheel.
Bad.
The term breaking the wheel, I feel like it was the first time she said those words all season.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I it's so frustrating to me because on one hand, I don't think the season was bad in levels. Like on
Mhm.
pure technical scale, I'm never gonna see a spectacle like that on TV again. Like those stuff that they did and what they accomplished in terms of visuals is insane. Like even like some like I would say in the season there must be like a top 10 shot of all time, you know? And
Arya and the horse.
that was beautiful. There's a shot where a little girl is standing like right in front of a column and like you just see the war coming at her and it's that like contrast of like innocence versus war that is so fascinating to me. So I think there's a lot of beauty in this season. I think there's a lot of people who are working at their top level. Like Amelia Clark gave the best performance she has ever given on this show in the last 2 episodes. Like, and I don't mean like best for her. Like I mean like a genuinely great performance. So it's just it sucks because there's in like episode 2 might be my favorite episode the show's ever done. So I have so many issues with how they handle the story, and I have for the last couple of seasons. But I can't help but also really appreciate the spectacle of it because I just think it's nothing short of like miracle work what they were able to do with certain scenes. But I
I
love fantasy too, so.
I I like dragons, and I really enjoyed, even though it was a massacre that I didn't enjoy watching. I thought that was a spectacle, but because of what I've already talked about, a lot of things were not earned, and a lot of things for me didn't pay off. And tonally, it's just I feel like in a way the show like betrayed itself. It betrayed what it used to be. It's just so that's why it's for me it's left a sour taste in my mouth, which is why I say it's bad. It was a bad season because of all those things that you think about the Game of Thrones. It just again it I don't know how else like what other words I could use. It's just a betrayer of its own. It betrayed itself.
I do think the writing was just like so abysmal. I mean,
Yeah.
I think especially from like episode 3 on, it was just so bad that it's sort of like I mean, it's so bad that it just like kind of trumped a lot of like the technical achievements of the season. Because I agree with Allie, like the direction and just like the overall technical like work on this season was really incredible. Maybe cinematography for the long night could have been a little brighter, but I mean, and maybe they shouldn't have left coffee cups on the table, but you know, it was very well done. And I mean, even this episode, I don't even think D&D are the greatest directors, but I did really appreciate that shot with the dragon behind her. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Did they direct this one?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They wrote and directed it. So they kind
You can tell
of,
they wrote it.
yeah. So they did the whole thing for this episode. So yeah, I mean, but I really think like if we're talking about direction, like last week's episode was fantastic in that sense. But yeah, I mean, it's just this is like a case where the writing is just so bad that like you can't help but be distracted by it in a way that, you know, just I mean, there's that stupid petition that like over 1 million people have signed to
I know,
get
but
rid
I hate that too. Like I
I think
hate
it's
that.
even though like I enjoy some of the spectacle, while I'm watching what's on the screen, I have all these things going on in my head asking these questions like, why is this happening? Why are they motivated by this? Why is this character doing this? Like, and then I can't help, and then like that overrides like some direct because I love Miguel Sapochnik. He's done some of my favorite episodes, minus maybe The Long Night because I couldn't see anything. But I think he's a brilliant director. But does that like I'm not going to like I'm not going to excuse like really, really bad writing for like great spectacle moments. Even though I agree that's a beautiful shot of the wings that she has behind her when she's like this dragon lady person. It's like a great shot, but even her death to me was so boring.
It was very, very boring. I mean, I think
So boring.
I was just sort of like, I don't know. I thought it was kind of predictable. I knew he was gonna do it,
Yeah.
and when they kiss, I was just like, he's gonna stab her
Yeah, exactly.
and like use love against her and all that, which fine. Like, but again, it was just so like at that point, I just felt I knew it was gonna happen. I knew the show was gonna go through these motions, and um, wish it was less predictable in that sense, you know.
Yeah. I wonder if they didn't want to make it like, not that they would have done it like wicked gory or whatever, but I wonder if I think they probably wanted to keep her like pretty in death as a kind of a gross way of putting it, but I do think it's true. You know, they wanted her to have like kind of an elegant death rather than like a prolonged one, is my guess from those showrunners, but I'm not excusing it. And again, I don't think this season was at all good necessarily. I just think I'm so conflicted because the stuff that I liked was so good that I just wish the rest of it had risen up to that level. But I do think the death was like, huh, really?
It was just so
Yeah.
lighter, and I feel like it kind of does like a disservice to that character. Like she's been like arguably like the most iconic just by like aesthetics wise. Like you always see like Khaleesi's everywhere. Like in freaking Comic-Con, people are dressed as her, and like you give her the lame. I mean, if you're gonna butcher a Mad Queen arc, but you're also gonna give her a lame death. I just feel so emotional and disrespected by these writers.
Let me tell you about a
Right now,
show
I'm
called The
just being
Magicians.
it's just being the negative Nancy. But I mean, I have to say, I will say, like, it still got me like excited now to watch it every week. Even though I was like, oh my god, this season's just going down the toilet. It still like had that power over me, kind of. But
Yeah.
again, I feel like they didn't care anymore. Like it's so obvious. Like they put their 2 weeks in for this job because they went to go and have another job and they need to wrap this up, so they don't care anymore. People just have to accept shit and then go off to make Star Wars. Like that's what I
Well,
feel.
first they have their Confederate show.
Are they still doing that? I feel like
Uh-huh.
they are.
I don't
Mhm.
know.
Can
I
you
don't know
imagine,
they're
right?
doing right now.
If those little neckbeards all in their rooms, like signing the petition to change the fucking show, had like all mobilized to instead sign a petition to let them not do the Confederate show, oh, like maybe priorities are a little warped, but like regardless, right? Regardless, what if even if the show was amazing, those two should not be doing that show. Oh, their writing is not great, and they're doing that show.
I
And
thought
Star
they
Wars.
dropped it because I like it kind of went radio silence after they announced it, and everyone kind of like spoke out against it. But I guess not.
Drink.
Because I don't think enough people did it loudly enough. I think it was just Twitter.
But
You know
that
what? I have to
Star
live
Wars
outside
movie has
Twitterverse.
that Star Wars movie has like a 2021, 2022 release date.
Yeah,
I feel like they're probably gonna be super busy with casting and rehearsing and writing that.
they're probably
No,
already
they're not.
busy with that.
They're probably not taking it that seriously. Are you kidding? They can write this in a couple weeks and they won't give a shit.
Star Wars?
Yeah, I don't think they care. I don't think they care.
But you know what though? Like, I mean, let's just at least hope that like Kathleen Kennedy kind of like lights some fire out under their asses and makes them work. I mean, she'll just fire people.
She will,
Like,
and then
in the
hire another
middle.
dude.
Yeah, but
I have feelings about how the Star Wars.
Have you guys recently rewatched like seasons 1, 2, or 3, or 4?
I have.
know.
Okay.
I rewatched them. I rewatched like up to the first two. Yeah, like a few weeks ago, and then after the fourth episode of this one, I kind of gave up because I was like, I know this is not gonna go anyway.
Oh,
But
season 1.
Season 1 was really good.
Yeah, so like I feel like you should be on my level, Gabby. Like it's not what it used to be.
I agree with you. Like I'm not disagreeing with you.
I have to drink.
But it hasn't been what it used to be since like late season 7. So
That's why
Yeah.
I
think I'm a little further
1
down I'm think I'm in the next step. Because I think you're in anger still. And what's after anger?
Acceptance.
Acceptance. I think I'm in acceptance or something.
Bargaining.
I just
Listen,
felt that way.
I started reading these books in my freshman year of college. Like, okay, I get it. But
I'm currently reading, and I'm excited to just kind of roll with how the books go. And if he ever finishes them, I'm just
I
gonna
need to finish because I need one of y'all readers that read the books to tell me how it actually is supposed to end.
probably similarly, but
I know.
There's
but
gonna be
saying
someone
it probably-
online who's gonna do a breakdown of what happens in the books.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you what happens.
That's what I mean. I feel like he'll probably execute it a lot better than D&D.
I'm not sure.
Well,
I mean, he will. But
to be honest,
I don't have a lot of faith in George R. R. Martin that much either. And I
Well,
like the books.
ever since he left the writing room, the quality has been going down.
I think with anything, I think the same thing's gonna happen. Like I think it's gonna end a similar way. It's just that it's gonna be the build up and the execution is just gonna be a lot better. It's just like you're gonna understand it. It's not gonna be like it's not like, Daenerys snapping and going bad out of nowhere. Like you're gonna build that. And they already do that in the text.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, we get point of view chapters from her, so we start to see it early anyway. But I guess my thing too is that I kind of stopped. Oh, sorry, Katey. I cut you off.
I was gonna take us on a different tangent, so go ahead and finish.
Oh, I was just kind of agreeing with you, but I think I started seeing the quality decrease a couple seasons ago, and then I had a resurgence of enjoying it last season because I was like, finally, they're moving shit along. And then this season came, but like, I've never really trusted the showrunners that much, especially after the first couple of like really questionable rape scenes where I was just like, oh man, so I don't know. It's like I've always been a little wary of how they might handle the ending. So the fact that my Starks were safe and happy is like my silver lining that I'm clinging to before I get enraged by something else. Which is likely.
Jon Snow prison scene reminded me of the Count of Monte Cristo. And again,
he looked beautiful.
What show am I watching? What am I watching right now?
It was
Count
so
of Monte
dumb.
Cristo was great.
Can we talk a little bit about the specific endings for the Starks? Specifically Jon.
Yes, I have a question because I want to know your take why Bran being king makes sense to you. Go.
It doesn't.
Well, I
feel attacked.
It makes it feel like since he can see everything, it makes it feel like he manipulated his way onto the throne.
Yeah. I feel like it's just like he's not really fully human anymore, and he presents like a certain objectivity that is like ideal for a ruler. So I'm assuming that's like the explanation for having him as king. Yeah, that's it.
And Tyrion's reasoning was because he's basically the world's history and the world's stories and whatever, which was a thing that was first mentioned in episode 2. And now we're making it the basis for choosing the next king.
Yeah. And I also think the idea of him knowing the entire past is that, like, if you remember your history, ideally, you're supposed to not be able to repeat past mistakes, and he literally knows all of history. So it's just bringing in that source of knowledge of, like, he literally knows everything that has not worked in the past. So maybe he won't. Maybe that's the whole breaking the wheel thing. He's not doomed to repeat.
Which feels like an easy fix, though.
But like, I guess what Melissa, I think I'm with you in that I bet you find it really boring that they pick Bran.
It is.
It just, yeah. Well, I was like, wait, he didn't even want to be Lord of Winterfell. Why the fuck would he say yes to being king of the 6 kingdoms now? A. And B, oh my God, what was my other point? I forgot it. I'm just so mad. I'm like blinding in rage.
I love it when other people swear on here and it's not me.
I'm sorry. I just let it out.
No, I'm genuine. I love it when it's not me. But Katey, what were you saying about Jon? You wanted to talk.
I remembered. Okay. But like, he's like super neutral, I guess, in a way. But like, is that really proper for a king when he doesn't remember? Because Bran doesn't want anymore. Like, he doesn't care about like anybody or any emotions or whatever. So as a king, I feel like you have to maybe care about the people and to make decisions. I mean, he's letting his council do all of his work.
He's gonna go find a dragon, he said.
Oh my God.
I think he just cares about humanity, like helping humanity survive, not necessarily like he cares about certain people. He doesn't have any like desires or wants, which is what essentially made for bad kings and queens in the past. So yeah, it's just boring. I just think it's really boring.
Let's talk about John, because I love John and I'm disappointed with how he was handled this season. Mostly because I'm super into prophecy and also people dying and coming back, which is one of my favorite tropes and things. And I don't feel like, but only if they end up meaning something. And I don't think John's resurrection played into any of this. When they made it seem like it should, especially in episode 3 when they made Barrick whole for continually coming back to save Arya so she could kill the Night King. But I'm struggling with understanding what John's ultimate purpose was. And maybe it was to kill Dany, but they don't make that explicit like they do with Barrick. And I feel like when he is walking, or when Tyrion's telling him that he's going back to the Night Watch, I got really depressed. Like, that is the most depressing thing I've ever heard.
But he didn't really end up going back to the Night Watch.
That's true.
In the end.
That's
on the wall.
Because I was like that too.
So is it really depressing? Like, he's with his dog and his best friend.
Well, because I think it would have been depressing if he literally ended up where he started. But I'm really like molding this to like my wants. So I understand this is not how everybody's going to read it. But I actually did think it was kind of a nice ending for him to have like his prophecy, his whatever, his meaning in life is to kind of just like not have something, it's like he does not have to be honorable. He does, but he doesn't have to have a queen. He doesn't have to support anybody. He can actually go and be wild. Maybe it's this idea that he's just always been a bit of an other in the world that exists. So to go beyond the wall and finally make a decision that's totally based on his wants. And remember in season 3 or 4, where Tormund is like, there's like wild in you. If you ever want to come, like he offered it essentially, and it was kind of one of those threads that you don't think is going to be picked at, and then you see him at the end riding through the woods. And I thought for any hero's journey on this show in particular, it was maybe the nicest one somebody could get. You know?
Yeah.
But I do think it was a missed. They did a lot of lead up to make him this grand hero, which ultimately probably would have annoyed me too, because it's like, man, you really threw her under the bus to build him up. Yeah. But I actually thought there was something like
profound,
romantic in the sense of like romanticism, in the way his story ended.
Yeah, to be clear, I love that he goes with Tormund and the wildlings. Like that, it was just when Tyrion that conversation, like, you're going to the Night's Watch, and he started repeating everything that Night's Watchmen have to do. I'm like, oh my god, this is so depressing. It's like,
I thought so too.
Yeah, and so I'm cool. I love how bittersweet this ending is. It's just I'm starting to think of like all the other things that weren't exactly tied up in regards to John, and how I feel like the whole him being a Targaryen wasn't exactly dealt with.
It wasn't.
That's what I said. Nobody addressed it.
No. You would think it would get brought up, in Tyrion's trial scene, but it doesn't.
Oh my god!
Nobody said anything. Why? It makes no sense.
I think that's just going to be the problem with this season. It's the writing. The writing sucked. It let all the characters down. It didn't know what to do, and it had not enough of that. Oh, I just stuttered. Sorry. It didn't have enough time.
I mean, I thought John's ending was very fitting for him, and it was always a kind of it's sort of similar to what I envisioned for him, just kind of like riding off and doing his own thing.
Yeah,
I did
execution-wise?
get what?
Execution wise?
Yeah, no, of course not. Execution wise, it wasn't done well. Like it didn't like. I feel like they did it because they had to. Like that was what felt right for the
Yeah.
character.
Let's
But
not give them excuses and give it what they deserve, please.
oh my god. But I mean, Katey, I did feel sad too. Like I felt like my heart kind of dropped for him. When he was like going off there, because I just felt like he had no choice. And like for me, I mean, I just feel bad when like people are forced to do things that they don't want to do. I mean, I'm sure everyone feels that way, but in particular, I felt like he sort of lost freedom, and that made me feel sad. But then the fact that he leaves and kind of goes off with the wild, and he kind of like retakes his freedom,
Yeah.
is what works for me. But yeah, I mean, the Targaryen thing should have been addressed. Like,
yeah, well, and it's happening. That decision to the Night's Watch. It is happening at the same time. Like Arya is deciding to go west of Westeros, and Sansa is going to be Lady of Winterfell. Like everyone else around him, everyone important to him has moved up in the world, and then he gets brought all the way back.
right?
Yeah.
All the way. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, the reason that I don't feel bad is because we see him smile at the end.
I think you mean before we learned that the
No,
ending was going to
before.
happen that way.
Yeah, no, like before he left, like
Yeah.
like he went on the other side. Well, like when he walked right back into Castle Black, like that's when I felt bad.
Yeah.
But then like and then the fact that he decided just to go with the wildlings, like off on his own, was okay. I just felt sad for like him being literally, I mean, like right back to the beginning where he, was joined the Night's Watch and everything, and
He has a photo again, and his hair is like back to being curly and down.
yeah, he looked the same.
Yeah.
He had great hair.
Is there? I think John also questioned this when Tyrion told him, "What is the point of the Night's Watch now? Is there a Night's Watch? There's
To protect.
Probably
what?
mainly still to have
They're dead.
criminals go there.
Yeah, I mean, it's
The
not just
wildlings are
the
good now.
but I don't know, like other evil people and stuff. I don't know. I've given up.
Yeah, I don't think there's really a reason for them besides maybe just protecting the border, like border protection.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, not to continue to beat this down, whatever that expression is, but at this, I was also sad because we were also seeing Sam become like the Grand Maester of King's Landing, and I'm like, also someone who's moved up and hasn't, and they were friends too. And I'm like, and Sam didn't even like get a final goodbye with him or anything.
Those robes look like they'd be overheating. They looked really uncomfortable.
What did you guys think of that scene with I guess actually Tyrion's final scene with him, with his new crew?
With the council?
Yeah, the council.
It felt very odd. Like
It was like they were winking at the audience.
It felt like it felt oddly placed. Like I wasn't watching Game of Thrones anymore.
I get the intention to show like that life goes on, a new leader, a new system, whatever. I can't, like I already said, I can't stand the breaking the fourth wall and be like, hey, I named it A Song of Ice and Fire. Isn't that funny? And I'm like, no, it's stupid. I hate you. I just got really annoyed by that. I hate that.
The whole thing about Tyrion not being mentioned in the Song of Ice and Fire, is that a callback to I don't remember who said it, but it was after it must have been in season 3. Maybe Cersei was saying it or whatever, I don't know, but Tyrion has just won like Battle of the Blackwater for everyone, and someone tells him that he'll probably never be mentioned.
Oh yeah,
maybe. Do
Probably.
you think they remember that they even wrote that though?
I mean, I remembered it.
that's not that bad, because if it's about A Song of Ice and Fire, I'm guessing they mean Jon and Daenerys. So like Tyrion was her hand, but do they only mean Jon? I don't know.
No, it's cause that was the joke because that's what the series is.
No, I know, but Sam helped the Maester guy finish the book. So like, what is the book about then? Is it only about Jon, or is it about Daenerys and Jon?
It's about everything that happened after Robert died.
Yeah.
Is what
Yeah.
they said.
So like the whole show, like everything that happened on the
Yeah.
show is essentially in there, with the exception of Tyrion, apparently.
Oh my god! And now we're in the never-ending story.
Yeah, basically.
We're not in Game of Thrones anymore.
I think we kind of touched base on everything. I mean, what did you guys have any other thoughts
I
on?
talk about Bran being king again.
We already did.
We Sansa gets to keep the North independent. We haven't really mentioned that.
Oh yeah.
I
Damn,
liked her
Sansa really wanted to be queen.
I kind of like that. It's just another thing, or another proof that they are sort of moving forward, you know, and that now there's only 6 kingdoms. I am interested in. I mean, we'll never get this, but I'm interested in knowing how that works down the line. Because I mean, there still are other 6 kingdoms, and Bran is the king, and then Sansa is the queen. I don't know. How does that work?
I thought it was really awkward when she was just like, no, I'm gonna, like, I love you, little brother, but no, the North's gonna be independent. I just, like, it was so strange to me, because, like, what stopped everyone else from
Also saying that?
Yeah.
nepotism.
Yeah, especially with Yara there, and literally starting that conversation off as saying, we pledged to Daenerys, and now we're pissed at you. It does seem convenient that everyone kind of backs down after
And she
Tyrion.
just accepts it. Like, what?
Yeah.
It's just because the show stopped writing for the characters. It started writing to get the plot from point A to point B. They just didn't care. You know, it was like, what makes the most sense? What will connect this scene to the next?
I know, and we should be outraged.
Shitty writing. I should be outraged. I've watched so many worse endings to shows. Like,
no, I mean, like I can think of worse endings as well. Like, I feel like the True Blood series finale was like awful. Okay, but like this one actually makes me like angry, because it was like I'm speechless.
Again, I kind of hopped off the train for this a couple seasons ago, and that's why I'm a little bit more muted, because I'm like, I kind of expected this, and in all honesty, again, certain things are handled better than I thought. So,
you know, I said that at the beginning of this season, but then I still got myself worked up over everything.
Oh, me too, because it's still fun. You know, it's still it's one of the last shows that will have this amount of like live viewership. It's, you know, it's event television, so I think it's natural for people to get caught up in it, and it's fun. Like, even when you're outraged, it's fun because it's exciting to know that so many people are watching the same thing, and like so few things can make everybody do the same thing at once these days. So I like that aspect of it too, but
I mean, that's something that I kept on saying, like, before I started. I was like, man, this is gonna be like one of those last few shows that can make people around the world watch it live. So I'm gonna like treasure season 8, because this will never happen again for a very, very long time. So like that aspect is very special, but I know I'm just really mad and disappointed and just saddened by these writers.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm angry too. I kind of mentally prepared for this. I prepared for like being just completely like underwhelmed, and I was just whelmed with this episode. So I'm okay.
I said that for like episodes 1 to 3. I was like, I'm just whelmed. Now I'm like, I'm really mad.
Yeah, like no, I was just like, I'm like, I'm not even making theories anymore. Like, people at work are trying, like, coming up with it. I'm like, you guys, none of that's gonna happen.
Yeah, like the series are usually like better than what the show has given us this season. Like, I'm like, don't tell me any theories, because it's gonna get me excited again, and then I'm gonna get disappointed. So don't tell me any theories.
Yeah, people are like, oh, Arya's gonna kill Grey Worm and she's gonna take his face and then she's gonna kill Daenerys. I'm like, no, that's not gonna happen.
I thought she was gonna take fucking Jaime's face and kill Cersei. Believe me, I was disappointed when just a pile of rocks fell on them.
What was the point of like going through Arya for like 2 seasons of that for her not to only do it once and that was it?
I know. Like, I feel like in the last season, we should have seen her at least do it one more time.
Right. And I mean, technically, I guess she did it for the long night, but we didn't actually see it.
I thought she was great, though.
I mean,
I thought she got her heroes. I don't know.
I mean, but did she change faces for that?
I don't know. I thought like because Melisandre was like, "Oh, you can have blue eyes." So I'm assuming that's how she got through the crowd without getting attacked.
Well, I thought that meant that because like she prophesied in seasons 3 that Arya would shut blue eyes for forever.
Yeah, I thought that's what she meant too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, because the Night King has blue eyes.
Damn.
But I mean, I don't know. I will say this: out of all the characters who had their endings tonight, the only one that I'd be like vaguely interested in a spin-off show would be Arya, because I think that's a lot of untapped storytelling potential.
Yeah,
yeah, just not by D&D.
She's also had the most interesting journey this season, and I can talk all day about how I ultimately don't agree with their decision to have Arya kill the Night King in the context of this season. I think she was the most consistently written and the most fun to watch.
I think she's been the most consistently written since the very start too, which helps a lot.
I mean, at least they didn't. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm saying, I'm like, it would have been terrible if they had her say yes to Gendry. Then we would have been like, oh my god.
You know what? That would have made me pissed off, and I was pissed about Brienne sobbing over Jaime to begin with. I was like, this is bullshit. So like,
especially since there's like zero resolution to that either.
Yeah, and she also kind of like loves him because she's kind of like rewriting a little bit of his history there. I was like, really? Is she still?
I was like, you guys slept together once.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it was good since you only ever slept with your sister.
Yeah.
But
well, like I feel like for me, their sex scene didn't really mean anything, much like the Euron and Jaime fight, because like it was supposed to make you think, oh, he's gonna stay with her, but then he goes back and then he dies.
I feel like he didn't have to have sex with her. I feel like they could have just like got rid of that and everything would have still be the same. Like she would still have been upset if he left. Exactly. It wouldn't have to have been like.
That was a baffling, weird choice. I don't understand why they wrote some scenes. Like that one didn't make sense to me. The Euron and Jaime fight was so needless. Like why did we
about Euron made sense.
Yeah. So
Euron could have died on his Iron Fleet. Why did he have to fight Jaime when he's about to die?
Kissing contest.
Yeah, I guess.
It was so stupid. It made no sense.
It didn't.
I agree. Yeah, and I don't know. I think we covered everything, right? I always say that, and then you guys think of something else.
I know. Okay, so it was. Yeah. I can't really think of anything else. I mean, obviously, I could go on for hours about how Bran is king being fucking stupid, but that's
what Twitter's for.
Yeah. But like, I mean, I just think it's like really boring. That's all. Like, I was just like, oh, okay. Like, I just thought that it was. I mean, I understand why the show did it. I just think it's boring. And okay,
yeah,
like that's it. So we have our segments, but we're gonna like kind of tweak them a bit to kind of talk about them as see. Like your MVP. Your week of the week.
Yeah.
We have. Do you want to do it just for this episode or for the series as a whole?
Well, we're doing an episode next week, right? Like.
Right.
Yeah. So like we could do that for the series next week.
Okay. Cool. So so up next is in our week of the week, which is basically this character that annoyed you in this episode. Melissa, would you like to start?
I can't blame anybody but the writers. I can't, Gabby. I can't think of. I don't know. I can't think of anyone. Everybody in the council who did not question the fact that John is a Targaryen. Nobody brought that up because they're all dumb because they were written dumb.
Okay.
Go ahead. Next.
I'm trying to think of a real one. My reek of the week. Can I say the 3 council members with Robin in it? The
Yeah.
guy, the eerie guy, because like I thought the shots to them like guffawing and like nudging each other and being like, "Yeah, this guy, what a piece of shit," was one of the dumbest decisions the show's done. It was like all of a sudden, like now Game of Thrones is this slapstick comedy. Here's these guys reacting. So I thought that, and Sam for saying the line of the book.
Oh yeah.
They're my reeks of the week because they were the most tonally like, what show is this? This is not supposed to be funny.
That's what I've been saying. Ah!
But yeah, so that's mine, I guess.
Oh my god.
Katey, do you have a choice?
I don't know. No.
You can say the showrunners too.
I don't want to pick the showrunners though, because I don't want to like bitch about. I know I feel like that's what we've been doing. I don't want to bitch about behind the scenes stuff. I want to focus on what happened.
Yeah.
But I can't think of anything. I thought the council scene was a little ridiculous. Can I just pick the scene?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay,
I'm saying, yeah, like I have any choice in this. I'm sorry. I
No,
just
of
want to
course
be
you can.
appeasing to people.
At this point, we should be after this finale, so I understand. Yeah. I guess mine would be Tyrion, just because I didn't really care for his speech explaining why Daenerys was bad and how she got to be bad.
Yeah.
And his whole like conversation to convince Jon. I just thought I was like annoyed by that scene before even like thinking into it. So yeah, and I mean, I guess that's really again like sort of defaults to the writers as my week of the week because they wrote it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Our next segment is Lady or Lord Commander. So who was the MVP of this episode? Well, you guys have a choice. You guys have like a pick.
I think Arya. I know she didn't have as much to do, but maybe it's because she was so steadfast in like her decision going forward, and maybe because it did feel the most in character. It was the easiest to kind of root for. So, and like she's just been kind of this consistent like voice of reason. Like she's seen a lot of the world. She's seen a lot of people make mistakes, and she's seen a lot of death. So to kind of be like, after all of that, she still wants to go out and see more. I think that's really fascinating. So Arya.
I'm gonna pick Sansa because she got what she wanted.
Yeah, that's my pick too. I think she stood. I mean, even though I didn't really thought the scene was kind of awkward, she really stood her ground, and yeah. And it was like it was a good ending for her. And after everything she's been through, I think they did her good. So
I'll go with Arya too. I like any shot that ends on someone on a boat staring out into the distance, headed off onto a new journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're hopeful.
Gotta love those fantasy tropes. I love them for a reason.
Okay, so I mean, we have our Swing the Sword segment. Is there anyone in this episode that you wish had died? Or that maybe you had predicted would die and is surprised that survived the whole Song of Ice and Fire?
This is not me saying I wanted him to die.
Okay.
I am so surprised Grey Worm made it to the end.
Yeah.
With their track record. I thought there was a big old target on his back since like episode 3, and the fact that he made it out alive and he made it with like some new titles. It's like, good on you. But that's the only person who like I really, really would have guessed was going to bite it. So yeah.
Yeah, me too. I really was expecting him and Daenerys to die in this episode, but it ended up just being really her, right? No one else died.
Yeah.
So And I thought Dragon was gonna die too.
I'm glad that he did it.
God, he's flying somewhere. We don't even fucking know where. Oh my
You know
God.
what? I will say this about Drogon. I think the most affecting scene about Daenerys' death was him reacting to it. That actually got me a little bit, and maybe it's a CGI dragon for fuck's sakes, but like him like nudging her over, I was like, God damn it, like that's kind of good. But then he like burnt the throne because they are good at targeting things that are symbolic, apparently. Um, I don't know. I needed to mention that because I forgot to earlier.
I like that he burnt the throne because I felt like he was sort of saying like if she can't have it, no one can. So
That's just
I'm gonna
assuming a
burn.
lot about dragons.
I'm gonna burn the throne instead of the man who murdered my mother because that makes total sense with my character.
But is it a cat?
Yeah, but
I mean, I thought because he's a Targaryen, he got like
Oh my
That's what I
God.
thought.
We're
That was-
making excuses for bad writing.
it is bad
No,
writing.
I'm calling
just
out the
ra-
bad writing.
I'm just rationalizing I'm just saying what I was thinking at that time, at that moment.
That's the part that I got to.
Mm-hmm. All right.
What was the title of this? Swing the Sword?
No, yeah, the segment.
Did everybody pick one already?
Well, we kind of were just talking about people we thought would have died in this episode, but didn't.
Oh, okay.
So far, it's Grey Worm and Dragon. We thought we're gonna bite it.
I think because we were all assuming that our Swing the Sword is targeted at people who aren't actually characters on the show, right?
Yeah, that are not targets.
Like, as in, that's why we kind of shifted the focus because I feel like all of us were going to be like D&D.
Yeah.
There's no real character I want to kill in this episode, you know?
I mean, I guess I didn't want to kill him, but only because she usually doesn't keep prisoners, and she executes people pretty quickly. That Tyrion got the prisoner treatment and not just got Dracarys right away. So I guess I'll pick Tyrion. Surprised that she didn't just burn him.
Yeah, me too. I kind of thought for a second when he threw his little
Hand of the King.
yeah, medallion thing, she was just gonna be like Dracarys, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
But no, he survived, so. Katey, do you have any picks, or were you surprised by anyone surviving the episode? The series, I should say.
Sam, Davos, Grey Worm.
All the red shirts.
Yeah, I'm surprised they all lived. Not that I wanted them to die, but multiple times Davos is standing in the front line of a war, and he said multiple times that he doesn't know how to fight. I'm like, how are you still alive? And then Grey Worm's also in all he does is battle. I'm like, how are you still alive? And Sam should have died in episode 3.
Yes.
But that's fine.
Rationalize.
That's fine.
So, I guess our usual next segment is Green Site, but I don't really think we have any theories. I think because it's over. We can.
Well,
the
there is a
prequel.
prequel series.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
not watching those.
Why?
I just don't want to. I'm done. Like, I'm going to read the next 2 books.
Different showrunner.
Yeah.
I might give it a go. I might watch like the first couple episodes, see how I like it. But
as someone who is very disappointed in myself for not tuning into Game of Thrones a lot earlier and only getting to watch live this season and part of last season, I'm definitely tuning into prequel series just to be a part of
the start. Yeah.
Got you.
Well, that makes sense. I definitely am going to give it a shot, but I can't guarantee that I'll stick it out.
Just catch up on Killing Eve instead.
Yeah, or watch Fleabag. Or watch half
or
of the
Barry.
second season.
It's Creek.
There's so many great things to watch out there.
I definitely
right now.
I definitely want to catch up on season 2 of Killing Eve when it's on Hulu.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been my lead up show on to Thrones, and then I have Barry the next day when I get to catch up on it. So having those 2 things make everything better. but season finale tomorrow. So I'm like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
caught Restore, and Homeland comes back next month, thankfully.
Oh my
Homeland
God.
is still on.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I think it's the last season though.
No,
Right?
no, no.
What
Claire Danes
stories are they
said-
still telling?
Oh my God, it's still so good.
It's really like it's
I
definitely
quit in season 1 though. Like I watched the first season. I was like, this
Thriller.
isn't for me.
It is
Same.
a genuine like spy thriller. It is so much better than Game of Thrones.
thing. I don't
Yeah,
know.
You know
I
why?
mean,
They're about to go into their 8th season, and it's still a show that has managed to like the suspense in each episode. Like it makes you like be at the edge of your seat. It's still good for me.
that show is really, really good at building tension. Like it's, I mean, the season kind of can be inconsistent with Homeland, but like once you get to the last like 3 episodes of that season, you're just like so hooked. Like I have to
Yeah.
give those writers credit. Like they build up to like the big moments so
Yeah.
well. And like
Yeah.
I wouldn't say though, I would say like overall Game of Thrones is a better show, especially when we consider like the first 5 seasons of it. Like I mean, but yeah.
I would say Homeland is a lot more consistent. Like Game of Thrones is extremely uneven.
Haven't
been
they
an
lost
uneven
like
series.
half their characters? I'm still just really stuck on the fact that it's still on. I had no idea. I am really quite engaged in like the world of television and film, and I am like, what?
That's that one is it's a lot.
Whenever
I
I
do think
hear-
it's ending soon though. I thought this was gonna be the last season.
Claire
Yeah.
Danes, because I read an interview with her and she said that they're not like it's not a positive final season. So it's not a for sure thing.
Oh, okay.
What channel? It's on Showtime, right?
Right, yeah.
Showtime.
Yeah, that's never gonna
but-
die.
Melissa, you sound like you justifying Supernatural's continued existence.
Another show that whenever I hear that it's still on, I'm like, really?
Well, it's
Or Grey's Anatomy? Like it
Anatomy,
always
yeah.
blows me away.
Supernatural's ending next season, so
Mhm.
I don't have anything to write about anymore.
I was surprised that they're ending Supernatural too. I thought that was gonna be on for the rest of my life.
I know, retirees.
I didn't know that they announced an ending date. Wow.
Yeah.
So
End of an era.
yeah. Speaking of end of an era, it's the end of this show.
Yeah.
So
That was wonderfully played.
Nice.
Very anticlimactic, like this whole season.
yeah. So thanks everyone for watching. Tune in next week for a special episode of Queen's Landing where we discuss the series as a whole. We'll have some space. Hopefully Melissa will be less angry and into the I don't know whatever
I
the next
support
phase
angry
is.
women though.
Well, I mean maybe she'll have I don't know. Melissa, it's up to you how you want to feel next week.
I'll probably
And
be
then-
calmer.
Okay, cool. And then like what's coming, and we'll kind of discuss the series and just what's coming next, and we'll kind of see what we think of the prequel series and the details that we know about it so far. In the meantime, follow Queen's Landing on Twitter, TYF Official on Twitter, and our handles are listed on the screen. So thank you so much for joining us. We hope we kind of help you guys deal with what you just watched tonight. Yeah, thanks again. Good night.
Good night. Bye guys.